Welcome everyone to the Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting today, Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. Following Robert's Rules of Order, I'll now do a roll call of members present. Monica?
Here.
Paul?
Here.
Nivea?
Here.
Tara?
Here.
Allison?
Here.
Shelby, we know, is on medical leave. Nick?
Here.
Cliff?
Here.
And myself. So with the quorum present, I now call this meeting to order. Boom. All right, y'all should have a copy of the agenda before you. Are there any changes to the agenda? We're good? All right, we accept the agenda as is.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as is.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Tara. All right, we accept the agenda as it is. Motion approved. All right, so then you all should have also received actually 2 copies of 2 minutes. The first one we'll do is the minutes from our last board meeting. Are there any changes to those minutes? No? So any motion to accept those minutes?
Second.
Okay. Got that, Blair?
Who was the first?
Allison.
Thanks, Elsa.
All right, so minutes are approved. All in favor? I should say first. All right. Any opposed? We're good, they're approved. We also need to do the board training minutes with a correction that Shelby did appear via Zoom. So with that correction, anybody have any other changes to make to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Tara,
All right, hold on. Tara and
Nivea, sorry. All right, so I'll approve those minutes. All in favor of approving those minutes? All right, any opposed? All right, so now we have time for public comment. Do we have anybody that wants to publicly comment? No, y'all are here just to observe and listen? Perfect, thank you for coming.
I received no emails.
No emails? Okay, sounds great, thank you. Blair, your friends report?
All right, very briefly, I did give you the sales figures both for September and October because they were sent to me combined. And the combined total on that for September and October, $8,288. They have been receiving a ton of donations downstairs and have been processing those quite rapidly. They are planning also to have sales on the 21st, which is right before we close for the Christmas holiday, and they'll also have one on the 28th, which is right before we close for New Year's. But they are planning on having sales. Now that they have weekly sales, they're very committed, and they're gonna have sales on those dates during the holidays. There is a special Saturday sale, I wanna say it's the 16th, I may have that date wrong, but it's mid-December. So there will be a Saturday sale as well. I think that's 9 to 12:30, I believe. So there will be a Saturday sale this time, this quarter. The one is for December. And not really anything special to report on them lately, as far as any special projects they're working on, fundraising, anything like that. I know they have been talking with Carrie Leeper Brock, our social worker, to do some special things, but there's no official things in the works at the moment.
All right, sounds good. We'll go on to committee reports. Finance?
I have nothing specifically to report, but Blair, I didn't know if there was anything you could share based on the positive movement with the funds for the ADA ramp at Seneca. I know that it sounded like it was going in a good direction.
Actually, if I can, respectfully, I'll just wait until we do building projects,
Sure.
and then I'll discuss that.
Okay.
I got an email just today that I want to share with you.
Sounds good? Otherwise, no, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Policy and personnel? Shelby, Nick, or Tara?
Nothing to report.
Again, other than current agenda items.
Okay, all right. Building and grounds?
Nothing to report, except, of course, we're waiting on the update for the ramp.
Okay, and we'll wait for you to report on that. Okay. Community relations. I have a few things, but Nivea, do you want to add anything? Okay. So, actually, I missed on the finance part. I wanted to add something. Can I do that?
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to throw out the idea, of a silent auction in January or February. Is that something the library has ever done? I've been kind of reading around about some other libraries that
Not
have
to
done
my knowledge.
silent auctions before, like in their lobby.
Right.
Is that something that we would entertain at all after Christmas in the winter months?
I mean, we could, obviously, again, due to the fact of how, being that we're a county agency and that kind of thing, probably that is something I would wanna speak with the Friends about and kind of maybe run it through them, let them be the ones to kind of manage it and that kind of thing, especially since they already have the sales, area in the lobby, so it might be better if they were the ones to kind of manage it for us.
Is that, I mean, but what do you all think about that? I mean, I just was throwing ideas out. I've been doing a little reading.
So, silent auction of what items, like?
Well, obviously, these would be items that are donated or gathered. And
I mean, a specific theme, or that's up to a committee to decide, or?
sure, I just wanted to throw it out as, you know, it's after Christmas, people are getting rid of stuff. It's another way to make some money. I don't know, I'm just wanting to talk about it.
I know that with Grace's Closet, I've been involved with some of their fundraisers in the past, and silent auctions have been, you know, very profitable for them, but the issue has always been getting items to sell, and, you know, it's sort of been, you know, so long, you know, if it's a charity, a lot of times it's businesses looking at it from a tax deductible point of view.
Sure.
So I think, you know, if we could source items, that's gonna be the hardest part, is figuring out where to do that, or what we're selling. And I don't know if approaching businesses and saying, hey, we're just raising money in general, you know, for library funds, if they would be willing to donate as much as they would for a specific item or a specific charity. So I think if we could specify it, that would help in sourcing that.
Okay, well, let's just mull it over. I mean, it just was something to throw out, doesn't happen in January, be February, March, whatever, but just,
But I think it'd be fun.
let's just think
Yeah.
about it, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
would say
even-
timeline and experience, I agree, it's,
Yeah.
it's soliciting those donations
Yeah.
and.
Being the end of the year, this is a time where everybody wants to get, you know, deductions, so,
Right, to give.
yes, because
give
they
now
wanted,
bef-
yeah, the
okay.
businesses want a deduction, so not wait until January to send those letters out.
Oh. Well, if it's okay with everybody, can I draft a letter and then via you, Blair, send it to everybody
Sure.
to see what you think about? Just gathering stuff now before the end of the year?
But I think the key thing that I heard Cliff say, or at least in my mind, I rang loud and clear, is that you want to be collecting things so that when you do have your silent auction, it's going for a cause. And so unless we have a specific cause,
Yeah.
I'm a little leery to collect things and where you're gonna store them until you decide to do your silent auction and then, or even decide what you're gonna say, earn the money for. So I
Okay,
don't know. I
okay.
mean, maybe, quite honestly, based on what Nivea said too, we do know people tend to be more generous in November and December. Maybe it's something that we work on throughout this 2024, knowing that we would try to pull it off at that time.
That's fine with me
During
too.
this time of the year.
Sure.
I agree with that, and I do agree finding a specific project to put in that
Sure.
solicitation, of this is what it'll be going for.
Okay,
Um,
that sounds great. Blair, how does that sound from your end?
Right here.
Yeah, that would be fine with us.
Then we could figure out, because you know what projects would need money.
Right.
You'd be able to specify that.
Right, and honestly too, with some of the different things that I know Carrie will be coming up with, I mean, even if it was not directly for library stuff, even if it was something that she's affiliated with that would be doing in the community, like the mobile showers or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds great, y'all, thank you. So, let's see, so we're on to community relations. So I'm continuing to promote the library through, personally, professionally, through the chamber. And then you'll appreciate this, I started a conversation with Cassie Owens Moore.
Okay.
She's the librarian at Seneca Middle School, sorry. I've spoken with Dr. Thorslin and have support to develop, along with all the librarians in the Oconee County school system here, a bridge between the public library and all the schools. So, the purpose being to support each other, our projects, and the freedom to read for all. We don't really have an agenda. I sent an email to Cassie, introduced myself, and told her, you know, what, about the library board, and she's familiar with it because she's on y'all's board as well. And so then she, in turn, sent my email to the librarians in the county. So I don't have an agenda, but I just felt like makes sense for all those that are library-minded to have a conversation. So if anybody wants to be a part of that, I'm happy to include you in that. I've not heard back from anybody yet. I just sent it last week.
Well, keep in mind also, I hate to interject, but
Sure.
I just would point out too that Casey Swords, our new youth services librarian, just started the 13th.
Okay.
And is herself making outreach, trying to make inroads with the schools and all to
Nice.
carry that forward, what Darcy was doing. So she also will be, speaking with a lot of the media specialists,
Okay.
librarians, and literacy coaches. So she's
Good.
trying to start making those connections. She had done that in Pickens County, she will do that here and pick up pretty much right where Darcy, left off.
Okay.
So she's also currently involved in that, so you might, when this starts to become more of a thing,
Okay.
you'll definitely wanna read her into it as well, so there's no duplication of efforts and
Okay.
everybody
Yeah.
kinda knows what.
So is it just kind of the board trying to support that even more, the existing relationships?
Well, it's
Or-
just that since she's new, making
Okay.
them familiar with her and making, for, in the future, particularly for like summer reading
Right.
and when, they go to do the schools, but also make sure that they know, okay, she's the one you contact for literacy nights and book fairs and all that. We've already
Okay.
got one scheduled, I wanna say it's December 5th, that we're going to Walhalla Elementary, don't hold me to that. But I think we're doing literacy night at Walhalla Elementary. So again, just already trying to make those connections and get, her name out there and everything to kind of take up where Darcy left off.
That's awesome. And her name is
Casey.
Casey and Cassie.
Casey.
Okay,
Casey Swords.
perfect. That's perfect. That sounds great.
Well, however that develops, I would love to help out with being with the Education Media Center at
Yeah.
Clemson and kind of school libraries in my background
Yeah,
too.
and I think really my intent was I just really, as the library, or the library board of trustees, I wanted to give us a little meat, like some purpose in our community. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this later, but, my goal was just let's just collaborate. We're talking about all things library, and we wanna support libraries, and I just felt like, it'd be a good idea if we all at least knew each other, and just supported each other's projects, or could help out in different ways.
Okay.
Was really my intention. I didn't have an agenda. All right, so we'll go on to the chair's report. Yeah, we're ready. All right, so welcome to A Night Among the Stars. Dun, 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 dun. That is the invitation. Was a great event. It's a huge success. If you all anybody can make it next year, please do. It was so much fun. Yeah, we had a really good time. Didn't we? We had a good time.
I second that. It was a lot of fun.
It was a really, volunteer appreciation is what it was, and it was a really nice event.
Good food too.
Good food too, no doubt. Oh my gosh, can't wait to use my movie tickets. God, they were giving out free stuff. It was very cool. All right, so also celebrated since the last board meeting was the 75th anniversary of the Oconee County Public Library. So I was able to attend the Walhalla Branch celebration. Very well done. The kiosks are in each of our 4 libraries. Are they still there?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
darn.
the exhibit ended, and now it is still available on the Oconee History Museum's website.
Okay.
And it is still linked to our website. We've taken the big banner off and all, and we've linked it, I think, under the About page now, under our history and all that, so there is still a link there. But they have taken the kiosk back. It was meant to be a limited time anyway, and I think
Okay.
they're gonna repurpose the kiosk for some other exhibits.
Okay.
But, the exhibit itself still exists, like all the photos and all the scans still is on their website, will stay on their website, and is linked to our website, and like I say, it's under, I think we put it under the About tab.
Okay.
But, so it's still available, it's just not there in the library.
Okay, it was really good. So thanks to Quintel Walker, Jennifer Moss, and Leslie White for compiling the information for those kiosks. Those were the 3 that pretty much put it together, correct? Okay, they did a great job. So in talking to Quintel, Jennifer, and Leslie, I found out that they're also sharing information and working with the Patriots Museum and the Cherokee Museum, which I thought was really cool. Board training was done on October 24th. We appreciate Tiffany Hayes from the State Library for her time to train us. So on your desk, you will see something from Rural Innovation, and this is a little interesting. So I received a request from Kim Bowman or Bauman, not quite sure. Bowman, you know her?
Yeah, I'm part of the committee.
Oh, yay! Okay, good. Well, let me do my little spiel here, and please correct me and add anything, Nivea, because I got this from Lakeisha Benson,
Yeah.
actually. Okay, Kim, founder of South Carolina Rural Innovation Network. And she's looking for a representative from the library board to serve on the South Carolina Rural Innovation Network in developing a digital economy ecosystem roadmap. I know, that's a lot going on right there. The purpose of the DEE is to serve as an economic development tool for revitalizing or enhancing your community by advancing digital knowledge, skills, jobs, entrepreneurs, and literacy. And so that I made copies of what I was given to share with you all. Nivea, can you add anything to this? Because I'm a little fuzzy, kind of. When we get into digital information, I get
So,
fuzzy.
and I am not, like, I don't know everything. I've learned, I took 3 trainings, and so I think I understand what's happening. So this organization receives money from the federal government to communities that have a large amount of their community with no fiber optics, like
Right.
which is the fastest now.
Right.
And so Oconee County happens to be one of 6 communities in South Carolina that received, is gonna receive funding. They're like, I wanna say 70% complete in Oconee County. And so, like, a lot of people are gonna get internet that don't receive internet,
Gotcha.
right now. They don't have access. And so what they're doing is they're gathering to see who can be included, what do we have, what we don't have, what are we needing. The money's there, it's already approved. The companies are already, like, the fiber optics are being, put in the ground as we speak. But they're needing people to know where do they need the resources, where is this needed, and it's, a lot of federal money that it's in this.
So then what does a person do? Like, do you ride the roads and look for,
Right
Or
now,
talk to
we're
people,
just
or-
making a map
Okay.
of what is currently in Oconee County, like what exists, what is needed. And so I'm representing the school district, so that's why I can't be both.
right,
So we need somebody else that, like, because they want somebody from almost every branch, government and,
Sure.
like, private sector and public sector, just so that we have like we're creating a map of what is there and what
Okay.
needs to come and where do they need to invest money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what would be required of somebody? You've done 3 trainings already, or?
Yeah, so it's a twice a month meeting, 1 hour. And I think we just decided on, starting in January, it's gonna be Wednesdays. This is Tuesdays, but in January. And it's 2 hours and it's just like brainstorming. And then, Kim has done already this in other counties. And so all she's doing is directing us, like, okay, so let's think of this, this sector, what can we do here? And some of them will be in person, but it's just 1 hour every other week. Once it gets to March, where everything is supposed to be finished, it will be probably 3 times a month.
Okay.
Because like, they're finalizing, and I think we have a deadline of May, the end of May.
Okay,
So everything has to be set in place and done by,
okay.
I don't know a lot of the ins and outs of it, but that's,
That's good. That's more than I got.
yes, yeah.
Nivea, do you know if Pickens County has done this? Because I thought I read in the paper today that they can get reduced price internet fees, families, for a savings of up to $360 a year for their internet. So I didn't know if that is part of that.
That's a federal program, and like, they send it to all the schools, even in Oconee County.
Okay,
So
okay.
anybody can call this number.
And that's
get that.
separate from
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
Okay.
it's separate from this.
Okay.
And I don't know if Pickens has done this before, but the 6 counties that the federal government is funding, Pickens wasn't mentioned in it,
Okay.
yeah.
Is anybody interested? Wants to think about it?
I learned a lot of things, like, I had a, like, I wanted to know what it was, and I'm glad I did it, because I learned a lot of things that I didn't know, you know,
Okay.
like, there is an app that you can download on your phone, and it connects to the data that they're collecting, and so, like, wherever you are, like I said, right now, over here, you can connect it, like, if we had connection to the Wi-Fi, and, it sends them the data of how fast or how slow the internet is everywhere, like in your house, in the school, in the court, you know, like anywhere. They wanna feel, and, I mean, live, they can see the data as you push, you know, like, do the test, it sends them the information of where you're at,
Oh, cool.
and, you know, how fast or how slow, and they know where the new resources are needed.
So it doesn't matter who your service provider is,
It
they're
doesn't
just
matter.
tracking
Internet.
in internet.
And the way they explained it is like, once this, because this is federal, once this fiber is, you know, installed, AT&T, whoever company will use of it, you know, will make
Okay.
use of it. But it's very expensive for them individually to build it.
Sure.
So like the federal government, like in rural places like here,
Right.
will build it, and then the companies will pay, you know, like we pay the company because they're paying some sort of fee to the government, you know, to get that money back. But the government takes that umbrella over.
Okay,
That's what I understood out of it.
Okay.
Which is, it makes sense.
sure,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So does it have to be a library board member, or can it just be representative of the library? Because between Blair or maybe even Carrie seem like they would be good
I don't know.
stewards too.
I mean,
Not to put more on your plate, but you would, if not, you would know who to delegate to. But Carrie came to mind too. She might be good.
The letter says they're just kind of interviewing and looking for a variety of people, so I get the
Right.
feeling they maybe solicited us as a source, but it could be
Sure.
open
Yeah.
to.
So Lakeisha and I are like co-liaisons for
Okay.
this, and so what they told us was they want somebody from every, like, you know, like school system, from the medical, from, you know, like the public library.
sure, yeah.
There's several companies in Seneca, organizations, that have that open space for businesses to come and meet. So like they want somebody, like everything and anything, because they wanna hear from different people.
Sure,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody's interested, the information is on the bottom. Her email, ooh, I didn't print too well, but I think you can still read it. So yeah, get a hold of her if you're interested. Sounds good. All right, so let's see. I would like to recognize Nick and Shelby for your collaboration with Cassie Owens Moore on Bookends.
Okay.
Yeah, on
Those are good
Bookends,
okay,
the
yeah.
program that you're doing, this is the monthly community reading event for K through 6 and their parents or guardians. Yes, well, Cassie told me about it, and I just think that's brilliant. Can you just speak to it a little bit for us? 'Cause it's.
Yeah, when Cassie joined our board, we had an initiative to try to get board members more involved with the museums. And one of Cassie's big initiatives is trying to get more diverse books in the hands of children, with more representation for, you know, different races or other affiliations. So we started with a African-American read-in for Black History Month, and that went well, so we added it as a regular event. So we've done 6, I believe, 5 or 6 last year, as we're wrapping up this year. And it's been a really good, a big success. So we do the reading event, and then we give away a book to every kid that comes, that way they can take the book home with them. And it's gone really well, and we've had a lot of interest in not only the community, but also different educators from different universities have come to talk about the event and learn more about what we're doing. So it's been a good success, and it's one of the major events that we are able to do repetitively that kind of gives back to the community and allows them access to maybe some different reading material that they wouldn't have had before.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Did you all come up with Bookends, or was it a program that had already been going on?
The Bookends name we came up with, but the African American Read-In is a national event
Okay.
for Black History Month. And we're hoping to expand upon that this year as we go into our Black History Month planning. We always start our Black History Month with MLK Day. So we're hoping to do something a little bit bigger, and maybe we'll open up the event to not just K through 6, but also later middle school and early high school, so.
That's really cool. Thank you, Nick.
No problem.
That's really cool. She told me about that. I was proud.
Yeah, we love Cassie. Cassie's great.
She's super cool. Yeah, I'm really glad I've recently met her. Absolutely. All right. I attended the October Chamber nonprofit meeting at Blue Ridge Arts Council. And Elena Jordan, I think Blair knows this lady, from Together SC, presented and educated us on all kinds of resources that are available. Those present got to put their names in a drawing, and during the meeting, she gave some money away, and the library won $1,000.
Nice.
Yes, we won $1,000. So that was super cool. I don't know, Blair, I hooked Blair up with her, so they figured all that out, but. So that was super cool. And then I also actually started attending the monthly school board meetings in support of our libraries. I just think that's something I want to do. So anyway, all right, that's it for me on the the chair's report. Blair,
Okay.
you're up.
Director's report, I'll keep it brief. I did mention in your background packet that we didn't win a grant. Catholic Charities won the grant, but it was spearheaded pretty much by Carrie. So the Catholic Charities, in order to continue to provide the mobile showers, did win a $3,500 grant. I will mention, kind of to go back to what you were talking about earlier, it is only for 1 year, for the mobile shower unit. So if, your fundraising idea, if you wanted to try to raise money for it to continue on beyond that, and we
Cool, okay.
area still and that kind of thing. Also Carrie and Amy Saylor, who's the assistant who translates, they are going to attend training sometime this week, I think, with some other volunteers over in Greenville on driving things so they can move it when it's down at, I think it's going to live down at Our Daily Rest. And then when they need to move it into place, when they're gonna have days for the showers and things, that way they can get different volunteers to come and move it. Doesn't always have to be one person to come, and move it. We are also going to be talking to the county and the Friends, this is one of the things she's kinda working with the Friends with, about seeing if there's a possibility that we can get the libraries outfitted to be able to have the unit maybe come to one of the libraries, particularly here and in Westminster. Since the library is not too far in Seneca from Our Daily Rest, there would be duplication of efforts there, but particularly in another Westminster location, and then to have, other than, one of the churches here in Walhalla, have another location in Walhalla. Still very early in the process, so I don't really even know what that looks like yet, but we are talking about that. Of course, you mentioned that, we had the exhibit, the digital exhibit for the 75th anniversary. I also pointed out in your background packet that Quintel did also present for us at a statewide conference. So he actually did a panel with a couple other folks on genealogy down at the South Carolina Library Association Conference in Columbia back in October. Just a couple other things to mention. I mentioned that we do have Casey now. Casey Swords is our youth services librarian. She started on the 13th. We do also have our bookmobile manager now. Angie Clark, who was a part-time employee at Seneca, now is full-time. She started on the 20th, and she's already been out with me. We will have one full set of routes in December because of the holidays and that kind of thing. We've already put out the calendar for the bookmobile. We will have a first Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll have a second Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a first and third and second and fourth is the way we run the schedule. So for December, we'll only have one set of routes. There won't be a third Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There won't be a fourth Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So each of our stops will get one stop in December. And I'll be going out with her on those still so that she will basically be exposed to and have visited every stop and been to every stop. And then she'll resume in January with the volunteers that we have. So bookmobile, there's sort of light at the end of the tunnel on bookmobile, for that.
Can I ask you real quick, how was your first parade with the bookmobile?
It was fine. I seen him.
Seneca Parade last night was crazy. I've never seen that many units and really that many people. I mean, they've
Wow.
always had crowds at this thing. And since they've changed the route over the years, they used to have you go all the way down North First and then turn and come back down and end at Ramcat. And now, because of all the businesses and all on Ramcat and the fact that they wanna have the reviewing go all the way through all the Christmas decorations and stuff that they've done on Main Street now, you come around off of 59, off of Oak Street, and then you turn on Fairplay, I think. You go up Ramcat, up Main Street, and then come around and end down on Railroad Street. So,
makes
and
sense.
it was all packed, and, I think they said in the paper they had 100 units lined up by 4:30. I don't know how many ended up participating, but we were so far back, this is about the furthest back we've ever been lined up. I mean, they had all the units that were floats of vehicles assembled at the Shaver Complex and check in there. And then there were so many people already lined up that when it was time for the parade to start moving, we just filled in, we didn't line up. Cause if they had us all lined up, I think we would have been down almost to the high volume, the convenience store down there on Wells Highway. So, it was the most units I've ever seen participate in this thing. We got done, I guess we got back to Walhalla about 8:15 or so, and it started at 6:30, so, I mean, it wasn't too bad, but we were probably in the back third, I would say, of all the units.
I don't know, you might just been halfway.
Maybe, yeah.
Based on what I
Believe me,
seen.
When we got done, we bugged out, we didn't stick around
You didn't
the
stay
rest of it, so I
around.
don't know how much further back, but we could tell, when we turned the corner there by, it's a graphics place now, whatever, it used to be Hometown, but now that's that graphics.
TNR
TNR
graphics.
graphics, yeah.
When we turned the corner there and looked back, we could still see them coming over the 4th Street, over the railroad bridge, so we knew, there was a bunch still behind us. But yeah, we pretty much got the heck out of Dodge, we kinda booked it on down and got on 6th Street and went Wells and came home that way. But, I mean, it was a lot of fun, it always is, and,
Only 4 or 5 more parades to go.
well, the weather this weekend, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure why they did it this way this year, but Westminster decided to have theirs on Saturday. They used to have it on Thursday night, like Seneca's would be Monday, Westminster's would be Thursday night, and then Walhalla's was Saturday and Salem's is Sunday. Now you've got Westminster at 11 on Saturday, you've got Walhalla at 4 on Saturday, and Salem at 4, I think,
They're
on
Friday.
Sunday.
Or,
Well,
sorry.
West Union is Friday.
I was thinking West Union. Friday.
West Union is Friday night, which, so there's
Wow.
talking about this rain coming, so I don't know what kind of havoc that's gonna play with the parades. If it's light, I expect that they'll go. If it's heavy or there's a lot of accumulation, maybe they'll try to get rain dates, I don't know. So we
Right.
may have many parades this weekend, we may have no parades this weekend. Kinda depends on what the weather does, but we'll see. We're prepared to, we've got our drivers, me the driver, but we've got our co-pilots lined up and all for each parade. So we'll see how it goes, and we still have plenty of candy, so we'll see how it goes. And then the other thing, I would mention just very quickly, is that, well, actually, we can save that. The other thing I was gonna mention, we'll save that for the next item, so that's
Okay.
my report.
That's your report. Thank you, Blair. So old business is next. So we'll discuss and follow up from board training. Is that something you had specific, Blair, or?
I don't have anything for that, I just kinda put that in there because I know that was, we sort of did it and then it was,
We didn't, so I actually do have something to say, but
well, and that was
Yeah.
why I put it on here, because I figured we might want some just discussion or follow-up from that training. And I did, mention it too, we had a Association of Public Library Administrators meeting, then, I don't even know what day it anyway, it was the Friday after that, it was 17th, I think, or whatever, anyway. But I'd spoken to her about it and then just mentioned to her how appreciative everyone was of it and that kind of thing. And, they were actually going to do the state library is actually going to do a possible, like mini directors summit kind of thing. There's a lot of new directors at various libraries and counties in South Carolina, and so I think the state librarian, Lisa Aiken, sort of has in mind to do kind of a mini directors summit. So, of course, I'll be participating in that when the time comes. And then the APLA itself is going to be working again this year, trying to get the word out to our legislators and our delegation here in Oconee in particular about getting another increase in state aid. So we'll be hearing a lot more about that, especially as we get into the new year.
Cool, that's good.
But anyway, that's,
Yeah.
go ahead, I don't have anything particular.
Okay. I think probably the big takeaway for me was that it was really realized, and we've talked about it before, that we don't really have much autonomy as a board. The way we're set up under our county, we don't deal with the budget, we don't deal with policy and personnel, we don't really have much to grab to do. So I think for me, the takeaway was for us each to really think about what can we each bring to the table as a board member. You know, what do you want to do? What project do you want to spearhead? How do you want to get involved? What are your strengths? Because I think I feel like we just have to each kind of create a purpose, because I don't know that we, as a board here in the county, have much purpose. But what is y'all's thought? What do y'all think?
Well, that's why I jumped on the bylaws when we first started, because I knew I've written about 30 sets of these things over the year. So, yeah, and I'm happy to do that kind of procedural kind of things, you know. So if there's some, like even with the strategic plan, I would have been happy to help with that, but obviously we have that all put together now, so.
How does everybody else feel about the training, or about, you know, your purpose here on the board, or your, you know, why you come to these meetings? We love to hear you talk, Blair. We really, really do.
Well, and I probably talk more than I should. I feel like you know, you are the board, but I do try to make sure that you are as informed and up to date on things as possible, because you do get emails from me occasionally and that kind of thing, but, you know, it's these times, and I think that was maybe one of the other things that y'all took away from the meeting, is that, yeah, I mean, there are opportunities certainly for us to communicate, you know, in smaller groups or whatever, but I mean, the time when we really have a chance to communicate and discuss these things and whatever is at our meetings, when we have a quorum, so, you know, we try to do that as much as possible.
And I think kind of like what you just did, now it's your chair's report, but we're always those eyes and ears and collaboration and different perspectives and, you know, kind of like that other committee. So to me, I think if nothing else, that's the purpose of, you know, something new's coming up or a change, and just to have that collective mindset, that exterior sort of mindset from your staff and folks. So that's kind of what I took from it, is that partnership and that stewardship that goes along with being on the board when we're out and about bringing things back and forth. And so.
Yeah, to piggyback off that idea, I would say what I took from the training was that, I mean, we do have an important role. I mean, we're lucky that we have Blair as a director of our libraries, that, you know, our main role is to make sure that the libraries run smooth, and because Blair does his job so well, it may seem like we don't have a lot to do, but our role is to represent the community, to be not only a voice for them, but also a speaker back. You know, when I go and have events at the museum, I can talk about what the libraries are doing, because we're informed, and that's a way to bring it back to the community. And that to me is, from that training, outside of our administrative roles, ensuring that, you know, monies are spent effectively or anything like that. You know, our role is to be community representatives in a way that actually is meaningful. And I think that's really our charge that we have to take up. And that to me is the purpose of the board, based off what I heard. And, you know, Blair, I think, makes her job really easy. But that doesn't mean that the role is not significant or purposeful in that way. Just like how you attend all those events and have conversations with people, I think that's kind of our main job, is to make sure that we're all going to run smoothly, but also that we have that communication line back to different community members.
I still really feel strongly, though, as the public, I might have a stronger role in coming to the county council than I do as the library board member. And I'm a little disappointed in that, because as the public, no one controls me and keeps me in my seat. But as a library board member, I don't feel I can come to them with our concerns as much as I would like to. And that's a little disappointing. And so, but
Anybody else?
I think to piggyback off what everyone said, we are, the instruments and the tools of the people of Oconee County. We're the stopgap measure between, Blair and, the county council. We were all appointed by members of the county council to represent the people of Oconee County. Ultimately, our goal is if things go south with the way the library is running, we're meant to stabilize and essentially, create a stable library system for this county. Blair has done a really great job in making our job here very easy because he's such a good director. But I know there's been times in the past, I know there's been other counties where that's not the case. And the role of the library board is much more hands-on. And, I'd love to be more hands-on, I'd love to, do more projects, but I am thankful that we're not required to be as hands-on because we have people like Blair. And we have a great library staff, and we have a really great library system here. I'd love to see it upgraded, but we are very blessed here in Oconee County, and we should always remember that. There's a lot of places around the state that do not have the opportunities and the resources that we have.
Sounds good. Anybody else? Okay, well, cool. That's all the feedback I had. I'm glad we had this conversation though, because we've not really ever talked like this before. So thank you. All right, so then we have Blair discuss building projects.
Okay, just very briefly, of course, the big item that has been in our focus recently has been the ADA accessible ramp building on the front of the Seneca Library. It's been needed forever. Of course, we all know there's really not been a whole lot of action on the Seneca Library and may not be for some time in terms of building a new one, let's say. But we did get to a point where we had, just if you'll recall, we got to a point where we actually had engineering done. We had an estimate for the ADA accessible ramp to sort of reconfigure the whole front of the Seneca Library and make it to where people can actually come in that front entrance with the sliding electric doors without having to either get up the stairs or come all the way up from the street level, or have to go around to the back door and knock on the door or ring the bell and wait for somebody to come answer. So we had the estimate and that kind of thing. It didn't get in last year's budget. However, I did talk very recently to County Administrator Amanda Brock, and we are going to put together an ordinance, because the funding is gonna come from, American Rescue Plan Act monies. So we are gonna have to go through, the county council, ordinance. They're gonna start working on the ordinance and, hope to have that, first under consideration by the county council in January. Now, because it is an ordinance, it'll have to do the 3 readings and a public hearing. So, they only meet every other week, so by the time we are actually having an approval on this, it could be into March, February or March. And then, of course, by the time, monies are made available and you actually start digging in the ground and tearing up the existing concrete and that kind of stuff, it may be into spring or summer. But this is looking a lot more hopeful than it did even just a few months ago. So we hopefully will be crafting the ordinance and putting it in before county council in January. Get the first of the 3 readings and then successive readings in a public comment time or public hearing. And then hopefully we'll be able to actually start working on getting it done.
again, with that in mind, since it is going to the county council and the public hearing, if you would like the library board members to speak out, I'd be more than happy to encourage them to pass that ordinance.
Certainly share with us when it's moving through, if you don't
Will
mind.
do, as soon as it's been scheduled. Right now, we don't even have the language of the ordinance yet, because it's, they were kind of working on it from various angles, maybe grant, maybe something else, but, The way they're gonna do it is through the, American Rescue Plan Act, and since that is the federal money that passes through the county, and they have to actually do it by ordinance, then, as soon as we can get the ordinance crafted and get it in front of them, as soon as I know the dates on those, if nothing else, I'm sure it would be good if you all were just there. And they know who you are, so, it'd be good just to have a presence. I'll try to
Yeah,
get all those
totally.
meetings myself. And, shouldn't really be any issue with it, especially the way, we'll present it in the ordinance. I mean, it's a necessary thing. I mean, it really, we've made do at Seneca for a long time, but, I mean, it's nearly embarrassing to, when you have somebody that is, in any way, shape, or form disabled, whether that's temporary, hey, I've got a broken leg, sprained ankle, whatever, or, more permanent disability, and you send them through the back door, the literal back door. It's time for that to come to an end. And so we're happy that it's moving along. Really don't have any other news on any other building projects, except that, at least I have had and continue to have a good dialogue with Amanda Brock, Ms. Brock, the county administrator. And so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that, in all this discussion of capital projects and other things, that maybe there wouldn't be other monies available for at least a possible expansion, if not a new building, in the not too distant future. I don't think it's another 10 years or 20 years before we get to talk about it. Now, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but at least we're in the room, and that's progress.
While we're talking building projects, I did read in the background information some issues that made me think, do we have security cameras at all our branches?
We do.
We do, okay, thank you.
Probably it wouldn't be a bad idea in the not too distant future, and I think IT is working on maybe placing some additional ones. There's probably a couple places that, I wouldn't say we have blind spots, but it's just, there's limitations to fisheye cameras, the bubble cameras, which is what we have. And so I think in the not too distant future, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing if we had a couple more installed. And I think IT sort of has plans to do that. And those, would help, a little bit in some of the areas. Again, I don't wanna say we have blind spots, but just in places where, let's say from one camera to another, like when you're going out of the door at Westminster, so the last you see of a person at Westminster, and then how long is it before the outside camera picks them up? Is there a dead space in there perhaps that, somebody could, take advantage of? So we can kind of mitigate a few of those, but, the existing cameras that we have now do a good job. There was a minor fender bender in the Seneca Library parking lot, 3 weeks ago or so. And the Seneca officers asked us for some of the footage, so we went through our county attorney and were able to actually find what they needed, to provide whatever backup they needed for, that case. So,
Cool.
they're good enough to do that at least. They're
that's
good enough
good.
to be able to identify vehicles and plates and that sort of thing, so, I think we're in pretty good shape. But if we could get a couple more, and I don't know what, like, the plans are, their budget or whatever, but if we could get a couple more, it would be nice to have.
What about the lot across from the Wahala Library, and the road, we were trying to make that one way,
That really kind of went away, and the main reason that it went away, now, we spent money on that, we spent money for engineering and that kind of thing, but there was a really long delay before the, Roads and Bridges folks were able to get some kind of final say-so from South Carolina DOT, Department of Transportation. And then in the meantime, the last thing we came up with, instead of any cut-in and putting gravel or permeable type material in the lot itself to create up to 18 spaces, is that we had, as you mentioned, decided that, see if we could get Westview to be made into one way. But with the traffic that the Friends often have for their sales, and now that those have just continued to improve, we had a job fair with SC Works about a month ago. Maybe not quite, days are all running together. Perhaps that was the first part of November, but anyway, we just asked the staff to park in the grass, and they come and cut the grass fairly regular, so honestly, we can still use it as an overflow lot.
Okay.
Kyle, Reed with Roads and Bridges, head of Roads and Bridges, said, hey, it belongs to the county, use it. So, I mean, we still park there, we just don't do it on a regular basis. So it really serves as overflow, but we're also looking at that as a possible, I mean, we've already used it for a lot of informal things, like we've used it for various summer reading events, they've used it for, we almost have like a mini park. We don't really wanna put anything in permanent, because then you, liability and, you know, we even talked about putting a picnic table over there, and then, no, would it get damaged, would it just disappear, liability, all that kind of thing. But it is very handy for us to have for, you know, a mini field day, or, you know, any other kind of event that they're gonna come up with in summer reading. This year's theme, I think, is adventures, so I think they're gonna go with, you know, pirates and Indiana Jones and that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe we'll have a big boulder over there that we'll roll over.
Big styrofoam rock.
But, yeah, so we've kind of left that more as a dream space rather than a parking space, because we can already use it for parking space without going to the effort
Yeah.
of putting in more permanent
Sounds great. Sounds great.
material.
All right, so that's it for building projects?
That's it for building.
All right, let's go to new business. Discuss changes to the interlibrary loan due dates.
Okay, so just a little background on this. Each of the branches has somebody that does interlibrary loan at that branch. We don't do them system-wide, it would just be too cumbersome. It's a whole lot easier to have one person at each branch. So we basically have what we call interlibrary loan coordinators, and they all got together sometime right around in-service back in the fall. In fact, they had a meeting, I think, at in-service. We carved out a few extra minutes for them to have a meeting during the break. And there were some things that they just wanted to change. Mainly, nobody's looked at this policy in a whole long time, and interlibrary loan has become more popular, in part because, of course, we have a limited budget, and there's just certain things we're not going to buy, and also in part because more people are just borrowing stuff. It has, I mean, I don't know if it's the economy or just people, that's, you know, they're getting out and finding more materials that they want, and we don't always have them or whatever. We have some really good sources that we use for interlibrary loan. Spartanburg County Library is very good to us, Clemson University is very good to us, several other, places that we regularly get books from. So they said, well, we need to go back and kind of look at some of these interlibrary loan policies again and just kind of clean them up. We had it to where you had to check out an interlibrary loan and turn in an interlibrary loan at the same branch. Well, sometimes, hey, I've got this, it's due, I just wanna turn it in, I happen to be at Seneca, so they wanted to make a change to that. And also, to make a change to how long you can keep them, because we have some pretty good relationships and it's pretty standardized now, there's not like longer, plus we're not waiting on, the interagency mail service that we used to. We pretty much send all of our interlibrary loans through the postal service now. Our wait times to get it back to a lending library or whatever are not as long. So they also wanted to extend the borrowing period from 3 weeks to 4 weeks, so it kind of more coincides with our lending policies, which is basically 1 week for DVDs, 2 weeks for new books, and 4 weeks for everything else. So they kind of wanted to make it to where it just kind of made a little more sense instead of the 3 week oddball. And then, the other kind of big thing that's in here that they wanna change is, unfortunately, we do have the occasional person who comes and abuses it, puts a lot of stuff on interlibrary loan. That requires their time to look it up, it requires their time to put in the request for it, it requires the lending library to send it to us, waste their postage, then our postage to go back, and the person doesn't pick it up. So we essentially wanted to have sort of a 3 strikes, and then you can't borrow for, I think we said a quarter, 3 months.
That makes sense. It's
4 months.
consequence.
Up to 4 months is what it says.
4 months, right, okay. So that was basically it, requesting and being able to turn stuff back in, just, some minor changes to the, they kinda considered maybe if we almost had a deposit, but we said we didn't wanna do that, we didn't wanna have it in advance, but they did make some minor changes to, Just making sure that it was understood, our previous policy wasn't real clear on some of that about, hey, you're responsible for any damages, that kind of thing. And then the, like, first, second, third warning, final warning, and then the change to the loan period.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, any discussion, anybody? All right, thanks, Blair. We'll go on to discussing.
Well, we need a.
Yeah,
I was gonna say-
Oh, sorry, we have to,
I make a motion that we approve this.
oh,
Yeah,
I
second.
didn't realize we were having to approve that.
Second was down there.
Okay. All in favor?
Second, I'm sorry, hold on.
Second.
Second.
Paul, got you, sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So we're good, Blair, passes. I apologize, I didn't realize we were voting on that. All right, I know we're voting on updated library organizational chart.
Okay, so in response to some of our recent personnel issues that we've discussed, before, and that kind of thing, we do still have, and now do have, as I've mentioned, our youth services librarian on board. We do have our, bookmobile and outreach manager on board. And the one open position, at least for, upper level for library, I mean, we have a couple part-time positions open right now, but the other open position we have is for branch services. I had that job. It was a make-up job from the beginning. Just to give you very, very brief history on that, a previous director, we used to have reference librarians, I know you remember those. Reference
yeah.
librarians. Well, when we didn't need reference librarians anymore, and there were the personnel that we had at the time, particularly at the Walhalla location, it was, you didn't wanna have one person supervising another, and this person, so what the director at that time came up with was this branch services librarian. The branch services librarian would supervise all the branches, and then the Walhalla manager would answer to the director. Well, we changed some of that around a little bit because that was cumbersome. Bottom line is, we're a 3-branch and a headquarters library system. We really don't need a branch services librarian. If we had 10, 12 branches, if they were coordinating between a lot of branch heads and that kind of thing, or if they were trying to do some, additional things or whatever, it would be a little more useful. We don't need it. So what we are going to do, and I had mentioned this to you all before, I think, and it sent out the job description, so I know you've seen it, we are gonna repurpose this as an adult services librarian. That listing is currently on the county website. So that job is open now and has been listed, so we are currently seeking applicants for that job. But in order to make that job work and get what we wanted out of it, we basically wanted to change things around to where they don't have any direct reports. Take that, essentially what was branch services that was sort of in the middle, almost as an intermediate between the director and the branches. Take that out, flatten the org chart out a little bit, have the branch heads report to the director again, and have that adult services really serve in that specialist role that we need. So what I bring before you tonight is simply a slightly altered, pretty much all the other, obviously, each of the branches, all there, they have their chain of command, and we have the administration collection management, nothing changes there. Youth services, we have our person now, nothing changes there. Local history associate and community resource associate, but what we are changing is taking that branch services librarian away and putting adult services in, and just taking that out and making it like local history associate or community resource associate, where it's a specialist position, and this one is a library position, or rather a librarian position, so it will require a master's in library science. Much like our youth services, I envision this being a lot like, okay, youth services does programming and plans things and does summer reading, adult services is gonna plan adult summer reading and do programs and do training and that kind of thing, and they don't need to be directly in the chain of command. Just like youth services, we'll leave it in the policy where it says, hey, when the director needs to be out, or whatever, or is at a conference or whatever, then you would serve as acting director or whatever, but on a temporary basis, rather than this person being a direct part of the chain of command.
Sounds good. Anybody?
I did have a question, and I know it's nothing new, Blair, but I really, when I was looking at the organizational chart, so I know you report to us, but you also report to county council. So Amanda's not in there at all, or that HR or whatever with the county? Or how do, I'm just
They-
curious.
I report to them through her.
Her, okay, that's all I need to know.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I basically coordinate with her, you know, we are, the library, obviously, just as you folks are all appointed by county council, we have
Right.
to answer to county council, and then I answer to you folks as
Okay.
well, because you do have, and this kinda goes back to what y'all were talking about earlier with the, training. I mean, you do have some autonomy, I mean, the county actually does defer to you all on some things that they wouldn't to, you know, human resources or roads and bridges or, you know, whatever. Maybe like the airport, cause they do have an aeronautics commission, you know, that kind of thing, but because of the way libraries are set up in the state legislation, you all do have a unique role, and the county does defer to you on some things.
What are those things?
Well, quite honestly, even some of the personnel things, I know in some cases, they didn't necessarily. But I know there have been a couple other cases where they have, they definitely defer to you all, not really so much on budget or that kind of thing, cause we're a county department.
Right.
So, like, there's that chunk where I answer to county council or to, you know, county. But obviously they defer to you on policy, they're not gonna step on anything that we do in terms of, you know, how we run the library, our hours, you know, anything else like that, that is all under your purview.
Programming, exhibits, blah, blah, you know.
Exactly.
Well, I think even something like this, I mean, typically this would be something that would be handled within the administrative department of the organization.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
yeah, you all.
we technically have the power to
but
tell
the-
Blair, no, you can't change your
Scrap it,
organization.
start over.
Change all this.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a good highlight of how good Blair is, that none of us even think of it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do think that that is our autonomy, you know, these decisions that may, you know, because Blair is so good, seem easy to make, but, you know, in reality have a lot of impact on what the library does and does not do. Speaking of which, I make a motion to approve the organizational chart as presented.
I have a question,
Okay.
not to hinder the approval or anything, but just as a new board member, all the staff mark personnel on here, what's the background on that?
Okay,
Or-
I'll give you the briefest.
Cliff notes, if you don't
The
mind,
briefest little
but,
update I possibly can. Historically, all library employees were county. Full-time, part-time, okay? For a host of reasons, but I think one of the major ones was in response to the Affordable Care Act. And, you know, making sure that they didn't go over a certain number of hours and that kind of thing. They decided to create, and it's not just us, probably we're the one that uses them the most, I think. But there are some other county departments that use either ETCON or Staff Mark or a temporary staffing agency. But they felt like that was the best way for us to continue to get our part-time workers.
right, so that was a county decision.
That was a county
Okay.
decision, like I said, there's some other things that come with that, dealing with them in terms of the fact that it's maybe a little easier sometimes if we have somebody that is just really not working out, rather than having to go through the whole county process of a grievance and this and that.
Right,
and
right.
Since they technically don't work for us, we can just call Staff Mark and say, hey, this person's not working out, we need another applicant, or need another person. So there's advantages and disadvantages to it. I do know that I have spoken with Ms. Brock recently about maybe moving some of these folks back over to county part-time.
Is that there's a mix in here
Yeah.
also.
Well, and we do, honestly, what the mix is, if there is like, we have a part-time circulation assistant at Westminster. I would consider her a legacy. She's been there since, honestly, before all this started. The one in Walhalla, she's fairly new to us. She had been a Staff Mark person, but we had another legacy position. And I had just asked Ms. Brock when we had to replace that one the first time, which was 4 or 5 years ago, I think, if we could leave it as a county position, and she said yes.
Okay.
So one is a legacy that she was here before we even did Staff Mark, and then another one kind of inherited it almost.
Grandfather.
And then we're kind of in the tough spot with Staff Mark because we only pay $10 an hour, and that's kind of,
Yeah,
but, if we can sort of slowly move maybe some of the ones that have stayed with us for a while, we haven't had that here lately, we've had a lot of turnover in those staff mark positions, just because they're looking for better pay, they're looking, I mean, they come to us, honestly, you know, we joke about, well, that they just wanna work at the library, but they come to us honestly because you don't go home smelling like grease, you don't have to deal with, you know, some of the stuff that you would at some of these other jobs that pay a little bit better, the environment's good, and it sounds like bragging, but we like to think that we're a pretty close family, so when you come to work at the library, it's also because of the people you work with. But having said all that, eventually we would like to move some of them, if we do have some that have shown a lot of promise or have stayed with us for a while or whatever, we'd like to be able to move them back over, and I think Ms. Brock is amenable to that. But yeah, the reason we have some of these staff mark is just, that was their solution for us to get part-time workers.
Gotcha, okay.
Any more discussion? All right, go for it.
I was gonna do that if no one else did.
All right, make a motion to approve the organizational chart as was presented.
Who seconded it?
No, he's got it.
So it was Cliff?
Cliff seconded, okay.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope, so it passed. Thank you, Blair, for working all that out. I don't think we have anything else.
Yep,
I think
we had to add approval of the 24 meeting schedule.
Oh,
That's why I gave everybody.
the
a copy.
amended agenda.
Oh,
The calendar.
God, when did you send that out? I didn't get that one.
In the past day or two, but
Okay.
yeah, so the only thing,
Well, I
approved
got
meeting
it sent
schedule.
out, I sent the original packet out to you all, I think the Friday or the Thursday before the 16th, I think.
Yeah.
And then I sent this out the Monday before Thanksgiving, because I realized I had blown it.
Oh, you know what? I saw two agendas. I was like, why do I have two of the same agendas? And I threw one away. Exactly what I did.
The only difference.
Okay, so now we need to approve the meeting schedule for 2024, which I know Blair gave me a copy of, and I have thank you, right there. All right, well, actually, do we have any discussion? Do we want to talk about it? Anybody have any concerns or questions about it?
The only thing I will just announce, so it's in the minutes, is that I will not be at the January meeting. I'll be out of town.
Duly noted.
And same time, place, no change.
Correct, there are no changes to the meeting location, the meeting time, it's still basically that fourth Tuesday, 5:30 here.
All right, that sounds good. So, we're gonna make a motion to approve the 2024 calendar year schedule. Does anybody want to make a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion to approve calendar 2024.
Right on. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second.
Yeah. Allison's getting in there tonight.
All our names
That was
are
a little,
in
yeah, we have everybody's names on it. All right, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we're looking at a good year, six meeting dates in 2024. So we're good, so now we can
We
adjourn.
were at the adjournment, yes.
We'll send those out to the paper and do all the formal stuff that we have to do to announce those.
Announce all that? All right, so who wants to motion to adjourn now?
So moved.
Okay, next. Who wants to second it?
I will.
You haven't done anything tonight, there you go.
You got one.
He's in,